Thanks for being here. Sorry for me not being able to stand up over there. I'm going to give a quick background about myself, but we're going to discuss monetization options for mobile games. Before I kick it off, can I ask how many of you guys developing games? Oh, okay, that's perfect. And how many of you guys are in ad sales? 2. All right, we got you outnumbered. Yeah, so myself, I've been in gaming for about 16 years. I left Turkey 1999 and worked in many different gaming companies, Machine Zone, Zynga, FunPlus. And 2.5 years ago, I left my well-paying job and I started my own core gaming, NFT gaming company. And we're working on our first title, about to come out in about 4 months. And I'm going to let everybody kind of introduce themselves, and I have a couple of good questions for them. So why don't we just kick it off?
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Thijs. I'm the founder and CEO of Multisubscription. That's the company behind Unleashed, which is a subscription service for free-to-play mobile games. It's an integrated service, so it works alongside existing revenue models. So I'm really looking forward to this chat. Quickly about myself, my background is actually in game development. Started out in PC console 15 years ago, and then moved into web, browser, mobile, and sort of after being a game developer for many years, I switched sides now to, I don't want to say the dark side, the grayer side maybe, and go into the monetization side. And basically help people like myself a few years ago with monetizing games in a new way with this subscription service.
Nice, thank you.
Okay, hello everyone, welcome to this session. I'm Sana Vardi and I'm working at a company called Adverty. What we do is in-play monetization, but with a natural way. We are adding some ad units into the game scenes, like it can be billboard, poster, or you can use side of the truck or tail of the plane. It just based on your creativity. So we help to game developers to maximize their ad revenues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Mert. I'm co-founder of Apps Mobile Studio, and I've started my career as Android developer. Then I went to dark side. Now I'm responsible for marketing and monetization side at my company.
All right, awesome. I'm really happy that you guys self-identified as dark side, because that's where I was going to kick off things. But yeah, so let's just get a little bit maybe into details. Could you guys talk about a little bit best performing ad types for certain types of games? I know, so we are building a strategy game. Most of our monetization comes from iApp purchases. But can you guys talk about a little bit maybe casual versus hyper casual? What type of ad formats? What kind of lift you guys are seeing? Any of you? I'll ask all of you, so you can go. Whoever starts doesn't matter.
I can start, if that's okay. So what we see is we are developing hyper casual, like / hybrid casual games, and we see that like most of our revenue is coming from interstitial ads, which is really very powerful at the moment. But like Sena will, I guess, tell things about it, and in-app advertisement also has a good share in our revenue. So I can say still it's the interstitial ads are the best at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I can continue.
Yeah.
We focus on just in-play, and in terms of best fit of the in-plays, the game genres are racing, sports, and action games, because the city maps and also arenas has already banner areas, ad areas. Sometimes they have fake ads. That's why it's really easy to make these ad placements into these game genres. But also, on the other hand, we are working with prefabs, which means when you download our SDK, you will be seeing our billboards in the Unity. And you can easily take that billboards into the game scenes for hyper casuals, casuals, arcade, it doesn't matter the game genres. But if I should talk about the contribution, it is a bit less for hyper casuals because they have a lot of interstitial ad revenues, and I can say it's around 5% additional revenue with in-plays, but for the other genres, it can be up to 15, sometimes 20%.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think it's always an interesting question. What's the best performing ads? Which I guess it's like asking which ads are the ones that makes players most likely to leave your game. So I don't know, and I'm not an expert on ads, but I can say because we are removing ads with our subscription, but we do keep some ads. There's the in-play ads, for example, and there's rewarded video. So what I can say for sure is that rewarded video ads are actually really popular with players. Whether they make them leave the game or not, it's a different discussion. And we work with a lot of publishers. When we started out with Unleashed, we had a no ads policy, like no ads at all. But what we realized after some time, after talking to publishers, talking to players, reading reviews of games, is that players really like rewarded video ads. And we saw reviews where players complained when rewarded video ads had been taken out because they said, you took away my free stuff. So I think keeping those in, as long as they are, we have a requirement that they have to be voluntary and player initiated. So it shouldn't be forced on you, and they should go in. So this is typically, get extra lives, watch an ad. Get some, coins, watch an ad.
2x income for 4 hours. I play a lot of idle games, I really like rewarded ads.
Yeah.
Although I don't like ads, but I use them. Okay, cool. So maybe talking about some data points. In strategy games, like I mentioned to you guys, usually anything 2.5% to 5% from ads is kind of good, right? That's kind of what my expertise or experience tells me in the data. But what about you guys see a lot of data, a lot of different games. What is a good number to reach? In terms of if you make a game and it's about and it's hyper casual, about 10 to 15%, like you mentioned. What is a good number for you guys? Is there a good number, if you will?
I'm at the provider side, so I think these are the good numbers, but maybe we should talk to Mert about this.
We are dividing ads as in-game ads and the traditional ones, and we should have an IAP share, but which we don't. So I can say 100% of our revenue is coming from ads, and I just checked today the latest data, and I can say 6% of our revenue is coming from in-app ads, which is really, really good because, as you mentioned, these ads, the traditional ads are moving away people from your game, but these are not doing it. These are not affecting retention rate in a negative way. So that's really a good share of it, and all of the other revenue is coming from traditional ads, and I can say around 60% of the revenue is coming from interstitials.
Nice. Okay. And like you mentioned, a good point. So how about targeting? Do you guys, do you guys target prevent churn, or do you guys target if you guys do any scoring in terms of, hey, this guy's gonna leave, why not serving him 3 different ads? Do you guys do any kind of smart targeting? Can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can talk about, of course, the partners we work with. And I think everyone should have, of course, the churn predictions, as you mentioned, but also the conversion predictions. And it's not easy to do, but it's not as hard as you might think. You can get within some very nice, comfortable confidence intervals, is what I'm trying to say, with not too much work, and it's still a good start. It's better than nothing. And that's definitely about predicting whether or not these guys are going to convert into being in-app purchase payers, subscribers, or ad watchers, you can say. Yeah. So I think that's very important. And about churn, I think it's an important thing as well. You can serve them what you want when you see they're about to churn. But I think when you get to that point, you've already sort of lost. You're just trying to recoup what you can. Mm-hmm. So I think much better is looking at the player experience throughout the game. And then, I don't have anything against ads, and I actually think, I don't think you have anything either, as you said so, but the reason I say is that I think people have something against irrelevant ads or annoying ads. Yeah. But if it's a relevant ad for a product you like or a game you might play, served in a nice way at a point where you want to look at it, it's great. That's how I found this game in the first place, right? Absolutely. It was through an ad. So I think it's about focusing on that and having maybe a bit more holistic approach to the experience, instead of saying, put these ads in here because they are performing very well, but if they're hurting retention or engagement or reviews, what are you winning then?
Absolutely.
I think that's
Yeah, I should clarify. I like ads that benefits me as a player.
Yeah, that's
so if you show me an ad and it gives me some resource that I need at that moment, I have no problem watching the ad. But I think, I've seen so many hyper-casual games that, you play the game for 3 minutes and it's like a clockwork. You get served an interstitial or a video ad, which, I immediately uninstall it. So I should clarify that.
No worries.
Yeah. No offense to anybody. I love ads.
None taken.
Yeah. So maybe kind of like a follow-up question. So the percentage of conversion, right? Is a lot of people watching ads, or is it just number of users watching multiple times? So, without really sharing any kind of partner data or any kind of game data, what's the conversion rate for watching an ad, and what's the frequency rate, I guess?
I can say for our games, 98% of our users are seeing at least one ad. But banners are also counted, so it's a bit tricky.
I see.
I'll be honest, I don't have the exact data on my hand at the moment, but I can say 70% of our users are engaged with interstitials or rewarded videos. So there are some people that watching videos really many times, which we are earning money from them. But also, like everyone, most probably seeing an ad at once.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell a fun story about watching ads and doing that. When we've been raising money for Multiscription from angel investors, and these are just like super rich people, like rich beyond what unimaginably rich. And when I was talking to them about rewarded video ads, they understood it. Like, yeah, I love those. I always watch them, so I click it and I put it down and get a coffee. I'm like, you're rich. You could buy this studio, and you're still watching rewarded video ads because it's such a natural part of how we are. It's like you competing with free. That's why free to play outcompeted premium.
Exactly.
You cannot compete with free, and so when people get free stuff, if that requires them to watch an ad, they put down the phone, get a coffee. Even these like literally billionaires would do it. It's quite fun.
When it's free, it doesn't matter how much money you have.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I was gonna get into the, kind of the changes in the ecosystem, tracking Google, what Google is doing, what Apple is doing. But before that, I actually want to open it up for questions. And then if we have time left, we can kind of step on that landmine.
Sure.
But because, I ran these panels a couple of times, I think the interaction is usually much better. So anybody has any questions? Go ahead.
I want to talk about a bit Google's new policy at this point. Because
the question was, how do you think about future of in-game advertising?
actually, I am seeing the in-game advertising in the future mostly with in-place, because we are not interrupting the user experience in the game. We are just making these placements into the game scene, and we don't want to interrupt this experience. We don't show any video, stop the gameplay. That's why I see that in-play is going to be so growing in the next months, maybe next days, because maybe you already heard Google have any policy. I am not sure when and how it can be implemented, but if it's happened, there will be a cut on the interstitial ads, and it has good sides, bad sides. It also brings churn users. It will increase retention rates, etc. But I see that the in-play ads are the most user-friendly way of the ad monetization. So
the future is good.
Future is good for us for now.
Yep.
My question is more about the artistic side of the games. Since free-to-play, nothing beats free, as you said. The free-to-play model, I felt that kind of
killed art games in mobile side games like, for example, Sky, Child of Light, where they can't really put ads because it doesn't make sense within the game, and they can't really monetize it because then nobody would play it. What kind of monetization options or even incentives could those indie or even like individual artists could have to monetize their games?
That's a really, really good question. And I think you're definitely right with the decline of freemium. We saw this kind of very artistic games declining. I think some of them have been salvaged by Apple Arcade. They now found a new home there. But there are a lot more great indie games out there. So as I said, I worked in game development for many years, and I heard so many developers say, I just want to make a great game. I just want to make a great game. So that's actually that's one of our solutions, which is put it in the service. Then focus on making a great game. You don't have to focus on the ad placements and when you should sell this in-app purchase, that in-app purchase. Then it's all for you. You can just focus on making a great game. I still think that indie developers should embrace the free-to-play nature. Free-to-play doesn't necessarily mean annoying ads. It just means you can download and play for free. And this is not a new thing. I'm old enough to remember when we had demos, or light versions as it was called. You can actually play the game. And this, you will see, increases the uptake of the intake of players. They can actually play it, and then they're more likely to pay, whether you have a paywall, a subscription, or whatever you have. So yeah.
So I want to add to that. So we would be considered an indie game developer. We have like 21 people, but we're basically creating our game from scratch, and it's a very artistic game. So at super holistic level, if the game is good, you wouldn't need to talk about any of this, right? You don't care about ads. Yes, you may talk about subscription and all that, but if your product is really good and it retains very well and people are addicted to it, it doesn't matter, right? In that sense, I would be really strong about subscriptions. Like my player base, I hope, we sell some sort of a $4.99 monthly subscription, and they keep buying that subscription because the game is so beautiful and they want to support us. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Who else? No one else? There were so many game developers here. No questions from the game developers? No?
They want to hear about the Google policy.
Yeah, exactly.
They're saying, I didn't hear about Google policy.
Yeah, so I think it did not come out yet, or it's still been under consideration, or whatever is going on. But the ecosystem obviously is changing. Like people are trying. When I say people, Apple, and maybe coming Facebook, and maybe coming Google now, trying to be more protective about their device IDs. Who gets or what. Who can make money from their users? Could you guys talk a little bit about these changes in the ecosystem, especially if Google moves into this changes? How do you foresee like the monetizing from ads versus subscription versus iApp purchases? How do you see the ecosystem changing? Any of you?
I guess I can start. So, first of all, I'm not afraid at all about the Google's interstitial policy. But I'm really kind of curious, how did they implement the Apple thing by themselves, like hiding device IDs. It will come in in 1 and 2 years, I guess. They will do same thing like Apple did. What Apple did that caused and resetting every knowledge of our know-how, because for example, you just learned something about marketing your game, user acquisition strategies, then Apple did something, then everything just collapsed. Now everyone in the same level. Now we are trying to learn faster than others. That's what we are doing at the moment. Hopefully when Google will do the same thing,
they reset it again. No, okay.
They will not reset everything, because we will be we will have some knowledge about the situation. But on the other side, the interstitial thing is it's really kind of they're trying to protect users on that side, because they are just banning interstitial ads that comes up from nowhere when you are playing the game, because nowadays we see most of our hyper-casual games are showing interstitial ads when you are playing the game, actually. You are just pressing things and then bam, just an ad. This is really bad also for the user experience. But yeah.
I think the changes we see is, we've always seen changes. Every new conference, a new change. Last time was IDFA. But I think for me it's about having a sort of a wider range of options for the players to choose from. So I have obviously a subscription service, but I'm not saying you should only do subscription. I think you can have a way where you can offer in-app purchase, you can offer subscription, and you can have ads. And you can make a mix between those, because people, if they like your game, they actually want to pay for your game, but you have to give them a way to pay for the game that they're comfortable with. And this is what we've seen with free-to-play, is that became a very, how to say, special kind of things that were being offered. And people were not comfortable with that. So that's why we now see the rise of subscription. So offer people different ways. So you can, as a subscription, as in a purchases, or you can also pay with your attention, which is basically watching ads, right? There you pay with your attention and your time. So I think give people the different options, because for different reasons, different people have different ways they're comfortable paying. So give them those options, and you will also be less at risk when the new change happens. Because 1 year from now, there will be a new change. So if you've spread out your monetization, changes in one place are gonna, I mean, we've seen lots of changes in subscription. Yeah. Also some things that have made it more, I wouldn't say challenging, because I all think it's for the better, but definitely some restrictions over the last year from Google and subscription. So if you spread it out, it's less risk. And I just want to really emphasize, people want to pay for your game.
Yeah.
So give them a way to do that they're comfortable with.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, I have some of a performance marketing background. Like, we used to spend a lot of money when I was at Machine Zone. And I think what I see now is a little bit scary, is if we keep losing, device identifiers, I think that's going to be a huge problem. So I'm not sure where Google is going to take this, or where Facebook might also take this. When I started mobile advertising back in 2014, it was wild, wild west. And you could grab anything. You could grab friends, where they hang out, which movie they went to, all that stuff from the social graph and the Facebook SDK. But now there's this deliberate movement towards limiting, attribution partners' ability to attribute. And I think that's a little bit scary, but, I'm curious to see what Google does. It's going to be interesting, to say the least, I think. Yeah. All right. Questions? Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys. This has been awesome. And
Yeah,
really appreciate it. And
likewise.
thanks for coming here. Thank you,
for your
everybody.
time. Thank you.